Hey, what is going on YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, as you can see from my comment here, we have an absolutely insane replay for our return to our Friday feature. Friend and viewer of the channel, Mr. Tom the Surgeon here, sent me this replay and is got to be a once-in-a-lifetime game here. But before we get into the game, I want to talk about a few things. Number one, what the hell is YouTube doing with these comments? This looks hideous. I don't know if you guys have had this update to the browser version of YouTube yet, but it looks awful. But more importantly, where to submit your videos for Friday feature. I will need some videos. Now I know I have 3 or 4 that people have sent me in the past that I have to catch up on. But of course, with my new job, traveling and everything like that, I didn't really have time. But now that we've gotten my schedule kind of down, I want to return to these videos, as well as a new series that I would like to do, a ship of the week. Now this was just a post from the World of Warships Legends official Facebook page, but it kind of gave me an idea. A ship of the week or ship of the month, how whatever I have time for, where we kind of focus on one specific ship. I go into a little bit of the history of that ship, give you guys a breakdown, rundown of stats, commander guide, things like that. It doesn't have to be a new ship. It can be something like the West Virginia or the Rochester here, maybe unique ships that aren't widely popular. Who knows? Whatever ship you guys vote on, or I'm going to have you guys comment different ships in the Friday feature videos, so that way we can have a list to choose from, because doing a poll on my community page every week might be a little cumbersome, but that is just something for you guys to think about. I will have a video with more details on that in the future. I will link my Discord as well as this Facebook page so you guys can see all these details. But without further ado, let's get right into that replay. Alright guys, here we are. We are on Neighbors. Tom started this video a little bit into the match, but as you can see, he is gaining a flank out here on the seaside. A pretty good spawn for the Flander. As most of you know, the French battleships rely on speed, getting angles and crossfires. The Flander has those fantastic secondaries, decent 15-inch guns with a moderate reload, and I don't exactly know his specific commander build, but I'm almost positive he is running Master Mechanic or a similar perk there, as he has 5 heals. Builds like this, more of the defensive builds, suit ships like the Flander and ships that are meant for brawling a little bit better. You combine that with the French's engine boost, and you can get this ship in, such as Tom does, into some pretty good spots, utilizing your armor, your secondaries, and well, even the main guns being however inaccurate they can be at times. And here is a pretty good example of that, as he fires on a broadside Chappiev and only gets, 5 or 6 hits there, with only 2 of them counting for an overpen and a penetration for 5,000 total damage. However, like we just talked about, the reload and gaining this position, this Chappiev is completely caught off guard. He now lines up a little bit of a closer shot as his secondaries start to go off. And there it is. That is the Citadel you've been looking for. A few defend ribbons as well. And of course, it's going to take a moment, but Tom gets his first of many close quarters experts in this game. I feel like at this point in the game, or, with how long those secondaries were firing, it should not have taken that long. And that is when Tom notices that this Lenin is pushing in. Now, Tom's team is doing a pretty good job of focusing that Lenin down. However, he is undetected here. He still has his engine boost active, and he is going for the almighty play. Getting on the broadsides of these Russian battleships is definitely the tactic you want to use. Tom knows that even if this Lenin gets a broadside off on him, he is not going to win this trade or, probably do that much damage to him. The French have a little bit of a sloped armor scheme, so you're pretty protected when you can get in close like this. On top of that, the French are always covered in 32 for the most part, so if you angle even just a little bit, you can bounce everything except for, of course, Musashi and Yamato shells. But this Lenin is completely situationally unaware. His guns aren't even facing the right way, and good night, thanks for playing. He sends the horn there, which gives him the flare, and that's 2 kills down in epic fashion early in this game. But as in typical blue team fashion, you look up at the scoreboard, and this game is tied. I kind of look back at this game and I'm just like, if Tom wasn't on this team, this would have been another 5-minute game. But that is just a message to all of you guys out there. Make sure you try and finish the game, right? Finish the game, play it out. Sometimes you never know. Now, I will give his team a compliment as Tom moves towards the C cap here, because as right on cue, the friendly Edinburgh gets the enemy destroyer. And anytime in a 1-destroyer game you can get that enemy destroyer off the board, it is a huge, massive advantage for your team. And this is just a little note to destroyer players. If it's a 1-destroyer game, try and work with a few of your teammates, or if you have the skills or you're in a capable gunboat yourself, get that enemy destroyer off the board, because as you can see now, their friendly destroyer has helped get the Bravo cap. He is now free, with the exception of radar cruisers and of course getting himself spotted, to torpedo the remaining ships at will. There is nothing really threatening him, like I said, with the exception of a radar cruiser. So working in unison with your team, trying to finish that objective, get those objectives, and then work as a unit to get that destroyer off the board or focus that radar cruiser or what have you, is only going to benefit you in the long run. I can't tell you how many times and how many videos I've made of battleship players just shooting over destroyers to try and get 5k off of another battleship backlining at the back of the map. And yes, you may have gotten 100k in that game, but as the friendly team will show you in this video, it is much more important, as they did, to target destroyers. But anyway, back to this one. This Iowa here is kind of retreating from the weak side of his team. As you can see, most of the enemy ships are still around that A cap. In the meantime, Tom's team has lost another 2 ships. I always wonder sometimes I wish you could, there was a replay feature we could go back and see what happened to these friendly ships. Now here Tom is using a pretty good strategy of utilizing island cover and just raining on this Iowa for free. However, as you will find out, and as Tom notices in this game pretty quickly, he has to use some of his HP as his team is not lasting long. They did do a good job of focusing down that Iowa, and just as a side point mentioning what Tom was doing, anytime you can utilize island cover with spots from a destroyer, such as was occurring in this game, you should do so. There is no point in wasting your HP, especially in a cruiser. Now, in a battleship with good armor, that is a little bit of a different category, as we mentioned in our Sovietsky Soyuz video. You definitely need to use a little bit of your HP, especially in a game that is essentially tied throughout. You can see that they are getting the B cap. They are up a little bit on points. However, you can see that the ship count is tied and the point swing is only about, 60 or 70 or so. So not a massive advantage for his team just yet. But right on cue, Tom decides that it is time to push in here. He is isolating his targets, meaning he is focusing on the Massachusetts, putting this island to his left here and that little bit of an island to his right. So that way he has a little bit of cover on each side of him. And when the situation allows for you to, it's just a good idea to put your, to have an island to your left or to your right. So that way you can focus on one ship, one engagement without being bombed on by multiple different targets. The biggest mistake I see battleship players make is pushing in without, utilizing situational awareness. As you can see, the Edinburgh goes down, and it is not looking great for Tom's team. However, he has now kind of caught this Massachusetts. I would have potentially turned out left here. However, we noticed that that destroyer had gone out in that direction. So now Tom and that friendly destroyer are setting up a beautiful crossfire. That Massachusetts had to turn broadside in order to avoid the torpedoes, at which point he gave broadside to Tom and his secondaries. And there is the dev strike on the Suzuya, and in about 5 minutes there, Tom's team went from an easy win to what is probably going to be a loss. However, he is providing spots on this Massachusetts. That destroyer is bombing on him as well as launching torpedoes. But now, as there are only 3 remaining ships on the blue team, one of which being a destroyer, Tom and the other battleship are the only targets left for the enemies to shoot at. So, putting his secondaries on the Massachusetts, Tom decides to turn his guns towards this Shimanto here. And guys, we went over the Shimanto at the beginning of this update. I have no idea how this player survived. Tom gets a pretty good salvo. We know that the Flander is not the most accurate ship. However, he only gets 3 hits there, 3 of which were all overpens. Call me a conspiracy theorist or something, but I think that there is a shell arming difference between PC and Legends, because we looked over those Japanese light cruisers on PC and they are basically just floating dev strikes. Well, as you will find out in the upcoming minutes here, this Shimantu gets overpenned more times than a few ex-girlfriends I had back in college. I just want to take a brief moment to give a huge shout out to the friendly destroyer on Tom's team. He played this game very well, getting the capture points, also getting spots, but the other 7 players, as you can see, the on-halt get dev struck. Yeah, you guys might want to work on trying to survive the game. As you can see, Tom has 3 eliminations here, and there's still 4 remaining enemy ships. That is when Tom comes around this corner and notices that Caricciolo. The Caricciolo smokes up just in time to allow Tom to maintain his concealment. And if there was one critique I had in this video or this replay, it was, Tom, you got to use overview cam. He is turning his turrets correctly. He is anticipating what his upcoming play is going to be. He's utilizing situational awareness. But here is where I would have utilized overview cam. I actually think he's using gun lock, which is good to use as well, but overview camera is just a personal preference. It also gives you a little bit of a better view as it zooms out your field of view just a touch. But that is when the Shimantu gets him on the Hydro there, and he is making a decision. What he's doing is actually a very smart play. He is drawing himself away from the destroyer. This decision causes the enemy to have to make a choice. Either they chase after the destroyer or they focus on the battleship in the middle of the map here. He gets a beautiful broadside off on that Caricciolo for only 2 overpens. We talked about RNG in this game, and while he did get some fantastic salvos, a lot of these cruisers are getting away with sailing broadside. Now, they are light cruisers, and we do know that the French have these higher velocity guns, but in this situation, I feel like it should be a instant deletion near every time, and just look at the upcoming salvo that Tom is about to get. The Shimantu has sort of caught himself broadside, again with beautiful spots from the destroyer. Tom is about reloaded. He's activating his secondary consumable. And yes, a broadside Japanese light cruiser with a massive citadel. What do you guys think happens in this salvo? 5 overpens. He aimed it a touch high, but honestly, I would have aimed it the exact same way, as that ship was turning out, and shells tend to land a little bit short. But regardless of questionable game code, the secondaries are going off on this Algerie here, and they are ripping him up. The Flanders secondaries are good. They do light a lot of fires. However, they only work well against lightly armored targets. A few of them are 100 millimeters, which only have, I think, 20 millimeters or so worth of pen. I'm not exactly sure of the values. I'm sure someone in the comments will let me know. Actually, Aaron, it's 27.5. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys who do know every little minute detail about this game. As I said before, this game is really complex. But if you look at it, and speaking of complex games, Tom is still down in this one despite having 4 kills, 2 close quarters expert, a dev strike, the high caliber, and the Confederate medal. Is he going to get another dev strike? No! 2 pens, 2 overpens on the luckiest cruiser player that I have ever seen. Now, I will give that cruiser player a little bit of credit. He did utilize a bit of island cover. He is kiting away and launching his torpedoes. I think he got the dev strike on the on-halt. I'm not exactly sure, but he's not just sitting there broadside. However, he probably should be eliminated. He is doing the smart play in this situation, though. He is kiting away, and I'm guessing trying to get his torpedoes, as we just mentioned, as Tom leads a pretty well-aimed shot. However, in typical French fashion, they go everywhere and only lead to 1 overpen. That is when Tom decides that he's almost had enough of shooting at this guy. He puts 1 more salvo into him while simultaneously focusing his secondaries on that lightly armored target. And as you can see, he's getting a few fires, he's getting a few hits. He destroyed a gun. I don't know if that's a bug, because sometimes that is a bug in the game. You will get that destroyed gun symbol. However, it will not actually be destroyed. But you can see that his secondaries are going off. We get the close quarters expert. The Caricciolo's broadside. Good night. Thanks for playing. Dev Strike, Double Strike, Kraken, kill number 6, and the kill that secured the victory for his team. A truly just masterclass in how to play French brawling battleships. Tom, what an excellent job, as well as a compliment to that Sims. The Sims doesn't really get a fantastic XP score. I didn't really see any medals. However, he did just enough in combination with his teammate here to give his team an advantage in order to win. Sometimes it is the very small, simple plays that allow your team to have, these epic replays. So shout out to them, and just look at those medals. 3 close quarters, Kraken, Fireproof, Dreadnought. What do you think the XP is? Only 3758. That was definitely a 4K game. I'm sorry, I'm giving it to you, Tom. 4K plus. We know that secondary XP is not calculated, so not exactly sure why Wargaming gives AA, planes shot down, which is an auto turret feature is what they claim, such as secondaries are. But regardless, that is my only complaint for this video, that he did not get a higher base XP. What a nasty replay. I'm sorry for the color scheme. When I downloaded it, it made it that lighter hue. It's an HDR issue, I think. But I hope you guys enjoyed that one. Let me know what you guys think. Comment the ships you want to see. I will link my Discord. You guys have a fantastic Friday. I love you guys. I'm out. Peace.